G'day everybody, and welcome back for some more Survival Impossible. I thought I'd do a little bit of a tour around the base. We probably won't go as far as the ice base, but at least a little bit of a tour around the base for two reasons. One, so that everyone can get caught up to speed on where things are actually at, but two, so that I can come up with a bit of a to-do list for each building and each concept separate to one another, so I can organize my to-do list so that hopefully I can knock a few things off. And also, I feel like I should be able to do a few of the little touches around the place as I go along. So in here, the obvious to do is still to put in the projection of a tree, so that I've got a second tree in here, and I'll need to have a sensor and things for that so it's not on all the time. And to make some sort of nice monument for our forgotten soldier over there. This room needs a complete rework, but I don't want to do that yet. As mentioned, I kind of want to wait until the update that has the large grid small connector. Now, I also want to do something that I can do right now, which is put a Willis duct in here, which is going to allow me to have this space not airtight from the other space, even when this door is shut. I don't need to worry about that on the upper floor because the upper floor has the window weirdness, so it's already managed. But this one I need to do it, so I'm going to put that there. Now the reason I chose that spot is because if we walk around here, it's kind of the only spot that makes any sense. I can put my Willis duct in here. I can then put the little caps on them. These things, the duct grates. And with that, we have a nice little way for air to pass through. And a bit of extra detail on the wall, which is kind of nice. That's that done. Then we go upstairs. In this living space up here, there are some small changes I think I might make. The first being get rid of these. And the second being get rid of this vent, because I don't need that vent. But also, I can replace this conveyor with a regular vent, meaning I can then finally put the railing on that bed like I have on this one, which I just kind of want to do. Railing in. Now I ripped off the bits across the top because I have an idea for them too, which is get rid of this set of lights. And then using armor plates, which did, I'm pretty confident, not exist back then, I can now have the kind of division between the rooms done like this and have it actually running along the full length of it. Which is what I think, at least my memory is, that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of make it so that you couldn't see the beds from down here at ground height unless you went through the door. I don't need the light to be on that bit, because the light could actually be on this bit. It doesn't have to be in that particular spot. Oh. Happy, 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 happy. Excellent. I'm still really happy with how these tables work. Like, this is just a nice place to sit. I could so imagine having my breakfast out in a place like this and actually feeling like I'm pretty happy about my day. Same with these ones here. Ah, what a spot to watch the sunrise. Cool. So, arboretum jobs are tree projection, unknown soldier monument, and rearrange the production room. Now, let's move on to closing my helmet. Yep. That was a bit of an ouchie. So the next room to look at, well, the next building to look at would be my vehicle production room, where I don't think there's a lot to be done here. Up on the roof, things are pretty good. I don't think there's anything really much needed to be done there. Let's have a look. Oh, actually, there is one thing. One thing that I don't know why I didn't already have it this way. Why did I have that as a square block? Why did I not use... Oops. Why did I not use one of these? I don't understand. I think I wanted to just... the roof line to continue for some reason that didn't make any sense. Whereas the ramp actually, I think, makes more... I don't know. That was weird. I don't know why that was that way. I'm not planning on replacing these wheels. I've thought about it, but I'm not going to do it. Oh, speaking of roofs, I haven't fixed up the roof of the arboretum. That is another thing I need to do. But other than that little ramp, I don't think there's anything much needed to be done here. I'll need to add the Capac notification sounds things to the little office area here, so that whenever I get nearby I hear him talking. Just for the fun of it. And yeah, that's I think all there. But let's go back over here to the roof, because I need to fix up this roof. I've been thinking about the roof of the greenhouse part of the arboretum, and I think, despite my initial thoughts on it, adding the wind turbines back, I don't think it makes sense. I think it's going to look better without them. I think I've just got to get used to the idea of it not having the wind turbines up here. I think it is kind of clean. The only thing I might consider is whether this could look good if I extended the armor out. So the armor is thicker on the outside as well as on the inside. Because on the inside it obviously sticks through the glass, but whether I came out to here with the armor and made it stick out on this side to give this less of a flat look, because it does look quite flat. And I think I have an idea of how I could do that without doing it everywhere though. This is terrifying because I totally will die if I fall from here. I could put something like this on just the front side. Just put some beams down there. Could do the same up top here. I'll try it up the top and see how it feels. Because I couldn't do this before, as I had the wind turbines up there. No, I'm gonna leave it. We won't do that. I'm just gonna leave it as is. If something comes up that I want to add there, like some of the thoughts that I had about adding things there were stuff like an antenna, but then it's not the tallest building around, so that didn't feel like it made sense. And then there were a few other ideas I had. Basically, everything I thought of, I was like, yeah, no, it's not the right thing. It doesn't feel right for what I'm doing. All right, so replacing the wheels with columns. In terms of new building today, I have some ideas. The big idea I have that I feel is going to be most of what I want to do is actually going to be building a new grinder pit, or a grinder pit, so that Manny can drop the stuff from space down there. As I was having a think about how far this planned railway line I have in my head is, I might be overreaching with it. Which totally doesn't sound like me. Doesn't sound like a thing I would do. Never. The planned railway line, I think, is more than 20 kilometers. It might need a lot of stuff. All right, wind turbine's done. Turrets are functional. Turrets are functional, right? No, turrets are off. Huh. Why are my turrets off? Are all my turrets off? No, just these ones. Weird. Okay, well, they're back on now. All these little pieces that I just keep seeing everywhere. I'm like, I gotta fix that too. There we are. Trying to fix as many of these bits as I can as I go around. Like this vent should probably be replaced. And I should probably get rid of that cargo container. And then I can go and get another vent and pop it in right here. So there are lots of those vents that I can compress now that we have the full air vents, the full block ones. There are lots that I can replace, which is good. Cool. That's that building. That's that building checked. Let's have a look at the refinery building. I haven't been in there in a while. And I think it's complete, but I'm curious just how complete it actually is. And whether there are some things that might be upgradable now that we have a lot more decorative parts. So all the catwalks are good in here. There's nothing to worry about there. Oh, Steve is up on the catwalk too. Hi, Steve. We've still got my seats and apparently a very old to-do list. Like, so old that it says build garage and repair shop and a vehicle lift. Still some things that I never did, and make arboretum. Navigation lights on path to mines. That was a thing I was supposed to have done. Oh well. My original charging seats are still intact though, so that's handy. I think the only thing that I might consider doing in here, and I'm not 100% convinced that I really want to, is perhaps putting something against this wall in here, because it does look pretty bland. Even though I quite enjoy the fact that the flooring has all this variation in texture and paint and everything. I think the floor to wall there could maybe use like consoles or something like that. Maybe there's a mod that does basically what automatic LCDs does, except without having to do all the config, which I might use to put automatic LCD style stuff on some console tables. These ones, where are they? These guys. Put some of these down, and then I could put the ones with the LCDs, the buttons, and actually have them showing some relevant information, even though I'll probably never look at it. Yeah, okay. Izzy's needs some fixing, because I've got all these no BP warnings on it. So I'll put fix Izzy's as one of my jobs. Okay. So, that's the refinery building. Then we have... back here we've got our Fort's Capac printer building, which I know there are some doom doors in, and I wonder if I could find my way through. So we've got our... Ooh. Okay, Lifsy's parking needs some improvement, but that, again, can wait until we have large grid, small connectors. And then we have the labyrinth. I think this way leads to doom door number 1. Yep. Out here. I might have made an error climbing down that. This kind of gets into all this empty space around here, which I don't really have a purpose for. I'm not sure I will ever have a purpose for it, but at least I've got a lot of batteries. So yeah, now can I jump back up here? Or am I... Oh dear. Oh dear. How do I get out of here? None of these are cargo containers. Why didn't I make these cargo containers? Why? Why? I didn't bring any... No, I've got nothing I can build with. I'm gonna have to grind out through the walls just so I can get out of here. That's annoying. Oh, looks like we're replacing this wall. And putting a ramp in there so that that doesn't happen again. I've also been thinking about some methods I might use to replace the liftsy and make a better one. There we go, ramp. So yeah, there are a few doom doors like that in here, and if I go all the way around, we can... I think I want to go this way. No, that's a doom door. That's out onto the level. I want to go back. I want to keep going up. Higher. Yep, control room 1. All the way along here. Aha! This is where I want it to be. Replace this desk with a captain's desk. There's cargo through here. Yes. There we go. I now have a nice captain's desk. Yeah. So yeah, this room I'm still happy with. I don't think there's much I need to change up here either. The Fort's Capac printer room and the Fort's Capac printer may be something I can repurpose once I start building the railway. I'm kind of thinking it's possible that I could put a second projector in there and have it project sections of railway once I design how the railway is going to look, and then use something like the panini to move those sections into place. It might be a more efficient way to build than my alternatives available to me. The other idea I had was to build some sort of crane that actually has a welder on it, and then use that welder to weld up sections. But we'll cross that complicated bridge when we get to it. So yeah, that's all this area up here. The next spot to have a look at on the base is going down to the aerodrome to see what's going on down there. Nope! Doom door. Went the wrong way. Further down. Oopsie. So the next spot to look at is over here. We've got Manny's building. I think my goal today, and I think I'm going to get distracted from the tour now, because honestly, down at the aerodrome, things are pretty much I think they're pretty much exactly as I want them. I don't want to change anything. And down at the ice mine, there's so much to do. I think it's probably healthier if I don't look at anything related to it. And then over at Steve's hole in the wall, that needs a complete build. It doesn't exist. There's nothing there yet. So that's something that needs to be done. Now, Manny's space. I kind of don't want to change the parking space. At most, I might remove these connectors and place a regular floor here. But honestly, I kind of like just leaving them there. There's some nostalgia that's kind of making me want to keep that. What I'd like to do for a grinder pit, though, is to make an actual proper grinder pit. I need somewhere that's going to allow me to have ground, like, that I don't have to dig out too much ground beneath it. Because I think... Do I need to have... Yeah, I think I need to have the grinders in the floor. Or do I? Huh. Because I did update their range when I updated the rest of it. When I did the welders. Let's do some quick tests and see how big my range actually is. Because I have an idea. My idea being that if I put grinders in the ceiling of a space, because the pods should fit in a single large grid cube. Which means if I have grinders in the ceiling of somewhere, and then I have a little pusher plate, so I drive up with Manny, I drop stuff onto the floor, pusher plate pushes the drop pod into where the grinder room is, and then in the grinder room, beneath the floor, I have exhausts that shoot flame, so that when the grinders activate, we see this massive jet of flame, just for the fun of it, and then all the stuff gets ground down in that massive jet of flame, which I think could be a bit of fun. But I gotta make sure... let's go grab Manny and we'll actually go grab one of those pods, just to make absolutely sure that I have got the dimensions correct. I'm pretty confident because it's all based around medium cargo containers. But we'll grab one and be sure. So what I want to test is if the grinders are set above the floor, can they reach down to the floor height? Now, some of you probably remember that 2 weeks ago I mentioned I removed tool shake, so grinders won't fling stuff all over the place. They will just grind stuff down, and it can just sit there calmly getting ground down. So my thought was put like catwalks as the floor, and then have the exhausts below those catwalks, so it looks like there's grills through which the flame comes and cooks the the pods as they get ground down. Oh, something else to mention about these tracks. They're the right width for Manny, but they're not the right width for a lot of my vehicles. The reason I chose this particular width between these tracks is because it's the width that I felt I could consistently paint it. Which is why it's the wrong width. Oh, that's a divot. Should not have driven over that. Basically, I realized that if I tried to make it any wider, I was going to fail dismally. Oh, we do have a research base on the way to the ice mine. So we're probably going to have some assert things that need clearing when we eventually go and start building the train line that far. That's going to be a long way away though. It's 4 blocks high, yeah. And it's 5 blocks wide. There's no more than 5 blocks, and I think the grinders will give us a little bit of extra roof clearance. It'd be a lot of work, but I do see a way I could do the tracks. I don't think I'm going to, but I do see a way that I could make the tracks even. If I just drove with a vehicle that has the correct wheel width and then paused, and while the decals are still on the surface, paint the voxels. That would be a lot of work, though. Be very, very slow. It's slow enough to do these roads as it is. I do enjoy the scale of this base. And it takes a lot of time to drive places, and it does, you know, add that extra little bit of, oh boy, I've got to go so far. But it also feels kind of nice driving through my base at speed, and it's still being a thing that I've got further to go because everything's spread over like 500 meters. More. 600 meters. from one end of this base to the other. Alright, so what I wanted to test was, we got the check, this is the right dimensions. Next thing I gotta do is put a grinder. If I just make a bit of a slope here, then we put a grinder on here, then I can test this. Important thing to remember, grinders will not grind their own grid. So this won't grind that floor. But if I go and grab some bits, and if I drop something on the ground here, directly underneath the grinder, it should grind that down if it can reach it. There we go. So let's see what happens. And toggle you on. Oh dear. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right at all. Oh. I mean, it does seem right, but it doesn't seem right. Okay. Because where is the grinder area? Is it all set behind the grinders? If I push that right in there, that still can hide in there. Which is what I was trying to avoid with the range increase that I did. I was trying to make it so that if you have grinders facing upwards, they still catch all those little bits. But this won't. Nuts. Okay, so this idea doesn't work. I've got to come up with a new one. Alright, since I can't do the top-down one, and the reality is trying to do some sort of grinder press where the grinders are on pistons is usually not a good idea. The reason for that is you have to get the distances absolutely perfect. Any subgrid will be ground down by the grinders. So if the grinders are on the main grid, or if the grinders are on a piston, they'll grind down the main grid. And that makes it all awkward. So I think this is my best plan, and I'm just trying to figure out now how I'm going to do the exhausts so that we can still have the flame. So I think the flame honestly was one of my favorite things when I started thinking about this. I just really wanted to have a big giant torch of flame come out. So what I'm going to do is see how tall the flame effects are. I can probably just pop an exhaust down here on the ground. So exhaust. We want, let's try fire. Oh yeah, fire will come through. Fire small. Fire small won't. Fire and smoke. I think I just want clean fire. We'll see a little bit of fire come through if it's... Basically what I'm imagining is the exhaust set beneath the grinder. So if the grinder was flipped around the other way and we could see just the top of it, we would see quite a bit of that flame coming through. Especially if I put an exhaust under every single grinder. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is probably the best I can do. And whenever we turn on the grinders, we turn on the flame, and it gives me some even more dramatic visual effects. Yep. We'll go with that. So that means I need to have it 3 blocks high. Everything needs to be quite large, basically. Yeah. Almost crushed myself. Alright, so where do I put this room? This grinder pit? One option I guess I have is to extend Manny's building this way. I could cut that back wall out, make it go further in. That gives me the definite height that I need, because I've got plenty of clear space here. Yeah, I could do that. So, if I start ripping out the back end here. Also, did I really do this before we had the block that fitted in this space? Huh. Fascinating. It's been absolutely fascinating coming back here and realizing just how many blocks I take for granted now just simply didn't exist for most of the time I was here. Like the block that I was just looking at before that didn't exist was this one. This one. I could have had that in the corner. But we didn't have that block back then, so I couldn't. So I had a weird gap that I had to figure out a way around of. And the thing I figured out was subtle enough that I didn't even notice it until I was standing right on top of it. Alright. Yeah, let's get rid of these collectors in the floor. At least the front row. So I think having some separation between the collectors and the rest of the floor will look nice. Since these are now purely aesthetic and not functional. So that should be enough extra clearance that I can now put down a bit of a warning strip. So I was thinking, how am I going to attach the catwalks? And this, I think, is the perfect answer. Of course, I went the wrong way through. Change to yellow, change to hazard. Because the catwalks need to be above the ground height. And if I have hazard going along here, I can then attach the catwalks to that, and that'll give me a solid attachment, as well as giving me a nice clear warning of, don't park Manny past here. It's not good. Not a good idea. Ooh. Actually, we should be using this color. So I've already got this color in here. There we go. Nice. The grinder pit really shouldn't need to be any bigger than 2x4 for the size of the pieces that I'm grinding down. So we'll connect those like that, then we go down. I know this is unnecessarily numerous conveyors, but these are for style. I think they look interesting. Then I can go straight, straight, straight. Obviously I could have changed these over to the pipeline ones. Oh, wait. No, that's wrong. They just go straight. What am I doing? I could have changed these out to the pipeline ones, but because I've used this style nearly everywhere, I kind of feel like I have to be a bit restrained on where I use the pipeline ones. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in a situation where I feel like I have to replace a whole lot of conveyors. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think it would be best if I avoid creating that sort of circumstance for myself. Huh. That's something I don't know. Are grinders airtight? I guess I'll find out, and if I need to, I can replace these conveyor lines with something that is airtight. In fact, I might do that anyway. The reason being that I kind of need this to become a wall. So I can have a wall going down that then hides the fact that I've got exhausts under here. Okay, that should work. Go full conveyors, and then I can just put standard line armor blocks along here. Put my exhausts beneath all of the grinders. I think my very different wall shape should be different enough that it doesn't clash, hopefully. The other side's probably more of an issue of where that's going to happen. Ow.
No energy.
I'd have wanted to sort out my power before I got to that point. Whoops. I was trying to cheekily just get a little bit more welding done. I was just thinking, while I was doing that, given the question that I asked in the last episode about whether scrap was changing my gameplay in any meaningful way, and I think it is, because there's one area where it is 100% changing it, which is I can't just move a survival kit around between grid sizes. I have to manipulate it in strange ways. But it's also changing my gameplay and pushing me to do a similar thing that the oxygen restriction does, which is make sure I have support structures near me when I'm building. I can't just take big risks and go and build wildly wherever I like. I need to make sure I've got access to oxygen, access to power, access to all these things, and same with our scrap. I need to have easy cargo access because, and easy cargo access right to my base, or take a huge supply of stuff because of the way I have to build. So it'll change how I build the railway line because I need to be connected to the base or even build stuff at the base. So I do think it's influencing my gameplay. It's just not always immediately obvious, and it's sometimes kind of annoying. But the annoyance is one of those things that pushes me to do things in better ways. So it's motivating in some respects. So yeah, for those of you who feared Don't worry. Ore scrap is not going anywhere. It was just me idly musing about it. But it is staying, because I do think it is a core part of this, and I do believe that it does push me to engineer things differently than what I might without it. And as long as it's making me do my engineering differently, then I think it's adding to the gameplay. Maybe if I get to the point where I've got lots of silver and everything else, maybe it won't at that point. We'll reevaluate it if I ever get to that stage. Alright, let's check out this exhaust effect. See how it looks now that it's properly-ish set up. I mean, it does feel a bit more barbecue pit than furnace, but it's kind of the best we can do. So I'll take it. I think with the sparks flying as well, it'll just add an extra dimension to it that we wouldn't otherwise. I'll try one other option though. How does it look with the electric arc? And can we even see it? Because I don't think the arc goes very far. Oh, it kind of does. Huh. Okay, one more idea, So we've got electric arcing and fire. Let me know what you guys think about these. Okay, I think I'm happy with these windows, and I think I'm happy with it actually being just 3 blocks long, because then it's 6 and 3, which kind of is a nice ratio rather than 6 and 4. So my back wall is going to go here. And I'm just currently thinking about the roof of the building. So with the roof, we've got those 4 wind turbines, but I was thinking on this back side, maybe I could put 2 turrets, put 2 more Gatlings. But to do that, I'm going to need to pipe to here. And I'm just trying to think about the best way to do that. I think I probably put the turrets not in line with the turbines, but out on the corners. So if I go reinforced curved that way and then that way, that's should be airtight for the parts that need to be. Or I can just go a junction here and then put end caps on it anyway. So having the end caps does mean that I'm not as upset by having the bits sticking out. Oh wait, no. That's not even far enough. So instead of that, we can put a straight one in. No, need more O2. Immediately forget that I can use the the grinders to access that, because they're covered up, the conveyor ports are covered up a bit by the exhaust. So if I go straight and then I go junction, then I go armored conveyor along the way down. Just remembering that this outside bit should be in the snow paint. Just for consistency with the other bit, not because it necessarily feels like it's the exact right way to do it. But I think that'll look alright as the bottom end of this. I think I made the right choice extending this building, because this building now, I think, feels better now that it's a little bit bigger. I'm trying my best to avoid needing to use the liftsy with its very awkward parking job that I don't want to have to fix just yet. So I'm trying really hard to just build things using scaffolding or build things just by jumping around a lot more than I used to. I really hope that was an unknown signal, because that sounded different. Sounded like there was a secondary explosion. I have seen the assert markers showing up, so the cargo ships are coming around here and the bases are out there. I think I'm just in, fortunately, I guess, a mountainous enough area that they're not really appearing around here, which is good. Hopefully it remains that way. Much as I like a little bit of combat, I'm very much just enjoying having a bit of peace. Not really having to worry about it much. Trying to decide which way around to place the Gatling turret, and then I went, oh, so that I can access the inventory from up here. Because I only could carry enough for one, and I would rather not have to go up and down those stairs multiple times. So it make a lot of sense when I place these things down to think about the inventory orientation or ease of access like that. There we go. That's the last touch for the exterior, I think. There might be a few little conveyor caps or something that I probably missed around here, but I think I'm pretty happy with the overall shape. There are some bits that feel a bit strange, like those bracing parts that I put on there. They do feel a little bit odd, but it felt very flat without them. And I wanted the wider window to be in there, so I didn't really feel like I could cover them up. There might be something I can do in the future as I fiddle around with them more to take advantage of stuff like the, what's that called? The scaffolding blocks. To try and use them as bracing more than what I used the beam blocks, because the beam blocks always, to me, or often to me, felt too big. They felt so bulky and bland on one side that I don't really end up using them much outside of small grid. You need a very specific scale that you're working at where they work well, I think. At least in my hands. Need some lights in here. And another thing we can do, which wasn't a problem before but is now, is I can do something to cover this roof bit of snow that shows up. I'm thinking I might even put it as hazard. Oh no, 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 no. Forgot these don't actually line up to each other. Let's just do rusty. I didn't need to grind them off to change the paint color. Whoops. Oh yeah, that's not good. Not a good look. There we go. Look at that. Nice. Okay, so I'm gonna put, I think I'll put buttons in for the moment. Before I decide whether I'm going to change up Manny's control for this, or whether I'm going to try and remember how to use the script and use a script thing to control when this turns on and off. But I'll use a safe button control for the moment. Put them all in a group. Button. And we just have a simple toggle on and off. And there should be enough obvious warning that something is wrong. With that being what happens when the button is engaged. So hopefully I don't need spinny lights or anything like that. I think the flames and the flashing and the sparks and all that should be enough. So let's test it. Let's grind down my first drop pod without me having to hear inventory full, inventory full, inventory full, inventory. What? Why did that pop out of the ground? Inventory full. That's weird. We drive in. This is actually probably better in first person, which is cool. Line my wheels up to the hazard line. Then we want to retract the pistons. Unlock the landing gear. Turn auto lock off. Reverse up. Park. I can hop out. We can press the button. Let's see this work. And one block is not grinding down. Now it is. Okay, so some stuff might still get stuck, but that worked really well. I'm happy with that. Let's go grab the other one. Oh, that's so good. That feels great. I'm very pleased with a proper grinder pit. I can't believe it took me this long to finally cave and just turn tool shake off. Because if I had tool shake on then, things would be flying around, smashing into stuff, phasing through the walls. It would have just been an absolute disaster. But without tool shake, there's that. It's nice. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I thought I'd smash Manny. I somehow got out of that without doing any damage. Now can I roll over without doing any damage? Oh my gosh. Oh, panic, 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 panic. Annoyingly, my gyroscopes are not aligned in the same orientation as one another. Which creates some challenges with using them to roll over. And I think the turret and the pistons are combining with that tree branch to create some weird... positional stuff. There we go. Okay. Panic averted. I'm back righted. I should not drive that fast, nor turn at those speeds. Oh! That's right. I increased my maximum speed before. Manny used to not go this fast. Manny used to not go this fast until I sped up the possible... I increased the maximum potential speed when I was towing the survival kit back to base, because I was getting impatient. Yeah. Oops. With that grinder pit the way it is, I reckon what I'll probably do from the launch air base is launch one, find it, pick it up. Launch one, find it, pick it up, rather than that insane approach I had previously where I launched like 20, expecting I would be able to find them all. And still be finding them several years later. Gotta love the times when Space Engineers just decides, nah, I'm not gonna cause damage because you've got too many subgrids going on. I feel like that's 99% of how I get away with it. Most of what I do in Space Engineers is I just overwhelm the physics engine to the point where it's like, I don't know how to do things anymore. I can't cause damage anymore. Alright, first person. Line up till I bump. There we go. And grind it down. Oh, that is so much nicer than running around with a hand grinder hearing inventory full, inventory full, inventory full, inventory full. Now having grabby hands to do that, to fix up the ones that get stuck, also delightful. Sweet! I'm really pleased with this. I'm really, really pleased with this. Nice, nice, nice. I should also close Manny's doors and check to see whether this is... Actually, do I have control over that? I don't know that I do. Do I have any button panel around here? Maybe it was the second control does that? Oh, yep. There we go. Closing the hangar doors. Closing the interior doors. Turning the vent on. And we have an air leak. Ah. Okay. Let's go have a look at that. Did I not weld up one of the blocks properly? Or is that going via the conveyor? Ah. Yep. Okay, so the sides of the things are not airtight. The welders. So the sides of the grinders are not airtight. Good to know. Can fix this air leak pretty easily. At least with a little bit of jumping. Precision grind is really handy. To make sure that you don't... you can just jump and just hold down the grinder for those moments. Now, it doesn't need to be airtight in this hangar anymore. It was airtight in this hangar because I was going to be standing in there grinding down stuff for so long. But now that it's quite quick, you could argue that I don't need to worry about it. But that also feels like quitter's talk. Says the guy who is currently jumping, trying to weld, instead of going up and collecting a single piece of iron, a single piece of interior plate so that I could just climb up there and do it. There we go, no more leaks. And go inside. There's the airlock. Open my helmet. Yeah. I'm really happy with this. I am really happy with this. This was something I wanted to have as an option for so long that I'm relieved to finally have a way to do it in game that I've given up on caring that feels, if it feels even vaguely cheaty. Next time, I'll have the to-do list, hopefully on the programmable block, so we can start ticking jobs off and start feeling like I'm making good progress on those things. I think I'm also going to take out some canaries and have a bit of a poke around at some of the assert facilities around here that are on the way to the ice mine. as well as making a decision as to where I want to put the beginning station for my train. But I probably need to design the rail, like the actual rail system first. So there's all that and plenty more to come, and I will see you then.